I basically lead all aspects of PR and communications for That's It. We are a healthy snacking company where all of our snacks are 5 ingredients or less, and fruit is the main character of everything that we do. So I lead everything from PR to content creation at every single touch point in the organization. I'm actually excited that AI is making things a little bit easier for a brand like us.
Want to attract and convert more leads? Want to learn how digital PR, branding, and SEO can establish and build your brand identity? Welcome to the Market Movers Building Brands and Links with Linkify podcast. We answer these questions and help you ramp up your brand visibility and credibility. Let's cut through the noise and make your business the talk of the town. We're your hosts, Nick and Chris. Let's get this show on the road.
Welcome to the Market Movers podcast. Today, we are really excited to be joined by Elizabeth Pigg, Chief Communications Officer at That's It, to unpack how brands are learning to speak not just to journalists and consumers, but to generative engines, knowledge graphs, and AI systems that now sit between products and discovery. Welcome to the show, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you come on. To start, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Sure. So my name is Elizabeth Pigg. So I basically lead all aspects of PR and communications for That's It. And if you don't know what That's It is, we are a healthy snacking company where all of our snacks are 5 ingredients or less, and fruit is the main character of everything that we do. So no added sugar, simple ingredients, not ultra processed. So I lead everything from PR to content creation at every single touch point in the organization.
That's awesome. And it is a big operation. You shared some interesting figures with me before, 85,000 plus retail doors, over $100 million, and the country's largest fruit bar brand. And we also had an interesting chat about the potential limitations of a brand name that's it when it comes to discoverability. Would you talk to that?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, and I'm an old school SEO person too. And so you think about a brand name That's It, the amount of negative keywords you would have to put to get relevant results. Just like setting up in muck rack Boolean text, right? Like it's one of the most used phrases in the English language. And then our products are made with 2 ingredients, both are fruit. So our biggest competitor is produce, right? So like, how do you win on That's It apple blueberry bar? So you think it would be simple because it's very obvious what we are, but you wouldn't believe it. So that, I love those challenges. It's a great puzzle to solve. So that's what I've been figuring out. And I'm actually excited that that AI is actually making things a little bit easier for a brand like us, because when you think about, what a mom of a kid who has food allergies and is looking for a snack that doesn't have added sugar that their kid will actually eat, then we can be a result there. That's actually easier than That's It apple blueberry bar.
Yeah, it's easier for all the moms, like all the parents, because if you're the mom, you know what you have those snacks in mind. You already know where you can go, where you can't. But then your kid goes over to a friend's house. Like, it makes it so much easier for everyone to figure out, like, is this okay for the kid to have? Is it not okay? So I think that's a really cool part of AI.
Yeah. And it's such a crazy thing with food allergies and sensitivities. So, I mean, I believe that AI is very much in its early stages. So I think there's no better solution than going to the store or calling customer service and verifying things like a food allergy. But you can at least learn a lot about a brand, and you can, compare, especially with the new integration with Instacart and Walmart that's on the horizon too. I think they're getting smart, but I would still call the company if your child has a severe allergy.
So when it comes to discoverability, then you're already, I assume, highly sourced or referenced within the LLMs just because of your existing authority as a brand. But how are you as a company, what sort of direction are you taking in order to increase that visibility and to have that narrative control behind the products that you sell and the sorts of potential customer search journeys that they're going to take in order to find you and discover you?
Um, that's a great question. So there's several different layers that we're taking to get to a point where I think that we are optimizing our findability.
Mm,
And one of those is looking at our website and making sure that we're in the process of updating a bunch of different things. Number one, our press page. Number two, our FAQ page. And then looking at our product listings and making sure that we're including more information than we did before.
mm,
And so that's one area. And we're not, SEO is not going away for for our perspective. I think the two are going to be synonymous
mm,
in the near future. But so that's part one. The second thing is when we issue a press release, making sure we're talking that same language.
mm.
Um, Actually, earlier this week, I had the pleasure of talking about PR to our internal sales team. And I got to talk about AI and how when they're talking to retailers and putting things in writing to be using a certain language, and I got to explain this in a way that I think they actually understood, which I was so happy about that because they say if you can't explain something in simple terms, you really don't understand it and
Mhm.
actually don't understand most of this stuff. But I know enough that I think I got them pumped up and they understand the importance of it.
Mm,
So every single touch point that we're doing, whether it's, in the product listings, and also something that we don't have control over unless you pay for it, of course, is reviews.
mm,
I think
Mhm.
that's a very interesting area, especially with look at Rufus with Amazon that's summarizing reviews since the beginning of time. And
mm.
people are making purchase decisions on that summary. I think that's very interesting. Mhm.
Yeah, that is. I want to go back to the sales team part real quick. So the idea is that they're putting this material out there. Can you explain that part more? Like how is that part helping with the discovery?
Sure. So, well, basically the context of the conversation is, and this is foreshadowing a little bit. We have some new innovation that's coming out in a couple of months. I can't talk about it right now,
Oh, come
but
on. Give us an
I
exclusive.
cannot. Oh my gosh.
New
You'll be the
snacks.
first to know as soon as I can. But that was the whole point of the discussion is that when we go to market with this new product line, we need to be talking about it the
Mhm.
same exact way across every touch point. So, and this never really mattered to them before. I don't think I've been at the company for almost 6 years. I don't think I've ever talked about SEO or advertising to them a day of my life, but I felt the need to bring this up. So everything that's written in a product description is
Mhm.
deliberate. Everything that we put in the press release is deliberate. The way we talk to journalists about this is deliberate. The message hierarchy is intentional. The way we would talk about, like, for example, like gluten free or that fibers derived from fruit, like ownable phrases
Mm,
that lead to where we would be the only solution. So
mm,
so that was the message I was trying to convey. It's not as important to them. It never will be, but they understand why do you talk about it this way? And so, oh, I'm so glad you asked. There's a rhyme and reason why things are listed the way they are and thinking about our competitive set and what they're saying and what they're not saying.
So thinking about how that actually materializes, that's like if everyone at your company is describing it like this and saying these exact phrases, even the sales team, it's the more people who hear about it, the more they repeat it like that. They have that same idea in their head. That goes onto the internet in social posts, blog posts, whatever it is. And then that collective message gets picked up by AI. I would have never thought about that. I think that's really smart. Just like obviously everyone being on the same team, but even the sales team pushing that message is really smart.
mm,
Yeah, and looking at making sure that it's repeated enough times. And that's the thing I'm always fascinated by with the LLMs, is that it's not just about optimizing for a keyword phrase or even a question, but it's the repetition across multiple touch points. And then adding on a layer I want to speak to, we also have our own group of nutrition professionals that we work with on a regular, it's called Nutrition Fam. It's about 1,500 registered dietitians. Some of them are retail dietitians. Some of them are media dietitians. So I know that it's not just the repeatable phrases and sentences, it's authoritative sources. So when you have the RD or the MD after a person's name, that tends to pull up further. So we're really leaning into that with our RDs and actually asking them for counsel. Like, what are the questions that your clients are asking when they're looking for a healthier snack, or maybe they're on a GLP-1 medication and they need to get real fruit in their diet, but they have this much stomach space. Are we the solution to that? So how do you talk about us? How should we be talking about it? So they help us too. So we're not just directing how everyone should be talking. We're getting that real-time feedback and adapting accordingly on a gradual basis.
I think that's really interesting. I think it's clear that LLMs derive trust from a consensus of information. So having that consistent messaging across everywhere that you have control over is super important. Yeah. I didn't even think about things like the sales team as well. Like Nick said, I think that's really interesting because that's like, you could almost like SOP how things need to go in terms of like what's published or publishable, but just one person speaking to another person, they could deviate massively from the messaging, and that could, over time influence as well. What interests me is the things that we don't have control over. So you mentioned reviews, extremely difficult. Are there any strategies behind trying to get your narrative control, sentences, phrases from reviews, or even, the tier one media sources, probably a bit easier, but in particular reviews?
At the end of the day, we don't have control on what someone thinks about us, especially something as subjective as taste and texture, right? So we can't control. There's always things that people can do. They could work with, Vine or Influencer or whatever the new tool is to get reviews optimized. But, we don't do a whole lot of that. At the end of the day, we want to make sure if you love the product and it's a product for you, you should have it. The thing that concerns me about reviews is that you look at a summary and let's not talk about that's it. Let's talk about apparel. Okay. Let's say this pair of jeans has been around for 5 years on Amazon. When the company started, they were using bad fabric, and people were talking about it. So they listened to it, and then they improved and they changed the fabric, and now it's really great now. Rufus is still pulling from the day one. And that's such a shame. So like, if you have a product and there's like, with food or beverage, you could have a bad batch of something could have went wrong. It could have happened in shipping, out of your control. Maybe a third party seller is doing something that's making your brand not look good. So those things do concern me, but I think people are smart. And if they're using LLMs in the first place, they have a certain level of knowledge about technology. So I think people already know, kind of forget the best reviews, forget the worst reviews. Like, the truth is usually in the middle somewhere. There's always the outliers, but I don't know. That's just in its infancy. I'm fascinated to see where that heads. What do you guys think? I would love to know.
I always look at reviews as like, if you go look at the worst ones, you can usually just toss them out the window. You're looking for like poor quality. That's what you're looking for. But usually when you get down to the 1-star reviews, it's like, I dropped the candy bar in the parking lot, and you're like, okay, well that's kind of your fault. There's a lot of just really dumb reviews. So I think most people, they actually go look at them, they kind of can discount those and make decisions on their own. I want to go back to like before like AI is what you're focusing on now, but back a few years ago, maybe longer, when you were first starting to build the brand. We're talking about the strategy there. And now I've known about you guys for a long time because my wife is a dietitian, and she would go to
Oh, you
Expo
can join
West
our
every
group.
year, and she would come back with her big suitcase full of snacks. And so we would always have, your snacks, and everyone. That was like, Chris and I go to a lot of conferences, and none of them are nearly as cool as Expo West, Chris.
Yeah,
It's just
okay.
a conference where you go around eating
I'm so
snacks.
excited about Expo West. Oh, you'll get to try our new stuff.
Not now.
There you go.
We've since moved to Portugal, so she hasn't been in a few years.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right.
Tell her about the new snacks.
So if we go back earlier when you're building that brand, what are the big things you focus on? Because I think this is a space that's really hard to crack into. We're from Denver, so there's a lot of these companies from Boulder as well. It can be really hard to get momentum, to get traction, to build that brand. In the early days, what are the things that helped you guys really stand out and get traction?
Sure. So I'll go all the way back to when we started, which was 14 years ago. I don't know if you're aware, but our founder and CEO was actually a medical doctor. Originally, he learned that while he was in medical school, he learned that only a third of Americans were getting their daily servings of fruit. And so he decided that he could help people on a larger scale by using food as medicine, which is a term people were not saying in 2012 when we launched. But he pivoted and he created the fruit bar, which is the same as it is today, and in farmers markets in Los Angeles. And the messaging then was just fruit. Seriously, that's it. Like that was the message. Fruit plus fruit. That's it. That was the tagline. So, and you could even look in the archives of like when we first started on social media. This is all we did. We'd have an image of an apple plus 20 blueberries equals the bar. We kept it very simple. In those early days, that wasn't very sexy. That was ahead of its time. People were not actively looking for simplicity. They were looking for nuts and caramel swirls and like protein, and they're still looking for protein, and that's fine. But they're looking for all these added extras in a bar that tastes like a candy bar, but is somehow healthy because you were allowed back then to put these crazy marketing claims on the front of the package and say it's healthy. And we're like, we're just fruit. That's it. Now, what made it interesting, the turning point, I think, would be in 2020. When I started, but it had nothing to do with me, I promise, was during COVID. During COVID, where people were not in grocery stores, but they're worried about their health. And so we got on Shopify Plus then. Our Amazon business was already doing a pretty great job, honestly, but we also were one of the first brands to advertise on Instacart. So with my background in digital marketing from when I worked at an agency, coupled with the fact that we could look at other huge brands that weren't on the platform yet and get shelf space that we could have never afforded in the store. That was a really exciting time where, we got to really move a lot of product, especially that was during our launch in Costco when we were first in Costco in 2021. So that was a really great opportunity. And since then, we really think about what we're doing in the store. Supporting retail is always our number one priority, but sampling is another one, right? So that's a real-time review. I can give you a product and I can tell if you like it or not just by the look on your face, whether you say you like it or not. It's like, what do you think about this? Okay, this is a real review. And we adjust, sometimes we adjust our products based on that real-time feedback. We actually increased the level of caffeine in our caffeinated energy bars when we were sampling at TwitchCon, and the gamers told us we needed more caffeine. So.
The gamers need a lot of caffeine.
It goes from analog to digital, back to analog again. At the end of the day, real people and real ingredients is what matters. I mean, I know it sounds cheesy, but it's true.
It's interesting. I think you're right about being ahead of your time. And now we have innocent smoothies from the UK, which is just fruit. And that was like the messaging. They blew up. They did a really interesting marketing campaign where they just took a load of their smoothies to a music festival. They had two big bins, like it and a don't like it. And they just gave the drinks away. And they just said, throw it in the the empties in the like it bin if you like it and the not like it. Everybody put it in the like it bin, so they knew they had like a hit on their hands.
That's nice.
Has your messaging changed over time then? You said that it wasn't sexy 14 years ago. It's sexy now. I mean, it's really sexy. People love, if it's just fruit, that's amazing. And it tastes good. Like, it's ticking so many boxes. And have you found a way to lean into that messaging now that sort of everybody else is caught up with?
Yeah. So now we're actually going all the way back to where we started with our messaging, because, with ultra processed foods being really like demonized, and artificial foods and dyes and artificial sweeteners, those things are all getting banned in the US finally, right? And so, we're looking at the USDA just released their guidelines of the food pyramid, and everyone's talking about how meat and dairy are at the top and how that's so bad. Well, guess what else is at the top? Fruit. So we're excited about that, So now the simplest message, people are looking for minimal ingredients. So now we can lead with minimal ingredients, and just fruit is still our message. Now things always alter within, every 3 or 4 years, because, sometimes people want to talk about vegan or raw or paleo or plant-based is the thing everyone says now. So we adjust, based on those nuances. But at the end of the day, we're just fruit. So we don't have to say anything more than that. And people are looking for it, and people are copying us all the time. We see that. Like, they wish they had a 2-ingredient bar now. Some of them say they only have 3 or 4 ingredients on the front of their package, and then you look at the ingredients on the back, and they snuck in like 3 more they've never heard of in one.
That's sneaky. RX bar is the other one that's really popular for like minimal ingredients, right? Who was first on the minimal ingredients train?
Huh?
Which company was? Yeah, who was first to this? Like, we're minimal ingredients. Were you guys before RX bar?
We were before RX bar. They launched in 2013 or 14, I believe. We were out in technically 2011, but officially a business in 2012. So we were first, absolutely.
All right, that's where I was going with that. I thought you guys were probably first. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now that AI is becoming so prevalent, and I think it's safe to say it's a learning curve for everyone. Anybody that says they have the answers is probably likely insane, because it's just moving so quickly. What does the strategy look like for you in terms of the sorts of, obviously we've talked about the messaging behind the content, but the sorts of content, sorts of platforms, do you resonate particularly well on like what a certain type of social platform? Is there repurposing of content, and is there any sort of measurement of where traffic and customers are coming from? Are you attributing that, or are you just sort of seeing what works and learning as you go?
I'll start with the last part of your question. We're still figuring out the measurement. We have not integrated with Shopify yet. We're not that far yet, but it's in our plan. And I'm really grateful. I have a very savvy digital person that's leading the e-com business, and she's really into all of this stuff too. So we'll be working on that from a gradual basis. But in terms of content, we are trying to, I start when it comes to, you think about social, website, email, SMS. Now I've been writing a blog to start every single time. I'm like, you know what? Is that a blog? Okay. It's National Healthy Heart Awareness Month this month. I'm going to start that with a blog, and then I'm going to cut it to an email. And then I'm going to make it friendly for Instagram and TikTok, which are our priority social channels. And then I'll cut it shorter for an SMS. And then I'm going to send it to our PR agency and say, hey, maybe we should lean in. Maybe there's an angle here for a reporter. But I've been starting with the longest form content possible. And that's something I didn't do last year. And that's something I'm like, that's a blog. That's a blog. Maybe I should reach out to our nutrition fam and see if an RD has a quote on this. And we'll see if they can link it to their blog, and we'll link back to ours as well. and we'll promote them in our newsletter. So I'm trying to think about how it's like reciprocal linking AI style, kind of.
I like that. That's a nice content flywheel as well. You
Mm.
wouldn't believe how many companies just haven't quite figured that out. Like they create different content for different channels. You're doing 10 times the work. So I think that's a nice strategy.
I mean, we're very scrappy. I mean, and that allows us to move really quickly. So, I always say I'm the most senior and the most junior person in the PR department.
Mm.
So, but we can move fast, and we have a team that is bought in at every single level of the company to make sure that we are curious, always learning, on top of everything, while at the same time not chasing every shiny new object, because this stuff is in its infancy. And I always like to say, being first in the digital or any type of or AI world has never served anybody. Like if you look at search engines, who won? Third to market. I was Google, right? It wasn't Ask Jeeves. It wasn't AOL. It wasn't Yahoo, really. I mean, kind of in some extent with AI, I guess, but then Google wins. They were third. You look at social media, it wasn't Friendster, it wasn't MySpace, and it wasn't like the gazillion ones that came after MySpace, and then it ended up being really Facebook, Meta, right? Same thing with live streaming. It's like Meerkat and Periscope, and then they figured itself out. So we're not going to be chasing it. We're not going to be spending $200 CPM when ChatGPT ads are available.
Yeah,
but I know about, but I will
Yeah.
know about them. And I will be watching and seeing who does it.
That's a smart play, I think, especially with the ChatGPT hasn't given any reason to even test it, because they're not like allowing you to see any sort of form of tracking or attribution. They're not going to tell you like audience sizes. Is basically just a black box of like, this is what we're doing, and if you want to try it out, you can spend some money. So I think that's a smart play. See what other people do first.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like search, right? Like SEO had to take a while to get going before it was worthwhile to spend money on paid search. I think the same is true with this. We're just learning how to organically understand how people are using it. So
Yeah, I think you're thinking about it the right way of like, you don't want to chase every new strategy that comes out. So you want to make sure that you're obviously focusing on AI discoverability, but you're doing it in a way that builds the brand. It feeds the other marketing initiatives too. You don't want to run off here and do something that's distracting that maybe will work, maybe won't. So I think that's a good way to think about it. You mentioned earlier that you think like the AI visibility and SEO will eventually sort of merge into one space. Can you tell us what you meant by that?
So in my crystal ball, who knows if I'm right, everyone's thinking about making content on your website that will be visible in ChatGPT and Gemini and so on and so forth. After that's done, I think that Google especially is going to be highly motivated to optimize and work out their paid and their organic to match. So I just think they're going to be one and the same. Essentially, I think SEO's algorithm or what's going to rise to the top is just going to gradually move towards question answer base versus keyword or keyword density, keyword phrase density, in that sort of way. Also, I think they will eventually they will understand, they meaning search engines, if people are trying to over optimize for ChatGPT as well, and what did we call it in the old days? Like keyword stuffing. I think there'll be a similar question stuffing, like an FAQ on every single page of your website. People are like, oh my gosh, stop it. Like I just want to buy a fruit bar. I just want to buy a pair of jeans. So
yeah. It will be really interesting to see. I mean, it's changing so quickly already. And I think what's interesting as well is all of the AI platforms are different. And I haven't settled on one. I mean, maybe I'm in a fortunate position where I've got a few paid plans across more than one. But I haven't just settled with one like with Google, if I'm going to use a search engine, I use Google. I don't like occasionally use Bing like to supplement my
Same.
Google searches, but I do use like a bunch of different LLMs. So it will be interesting to see the war between how the LLMs are going to monetize and then what that looks like to a user in search. And then, there was a study released that, Google search is at the highest it has ever been. I think it was like 13.6 billion or trillion, whatever it was, searches this year, which is like 4 billion more than the previous year and the highest it's ever been. So people are still actively using Google. So it would be a stupid decision to just like throw the baby out with the bathwater and optimize only for LLMs. I think you're completely right. Have a core focus. And like Nick said, if you can do things which allows that omni-channel optimization, it's a winning strategy.
Yeah, I mean, like I love Google now because of the summary, the AI summaries, although they're highly inaccurate a lot of the time. So I worry, from putting my marketing and PR hat on, the whole, zero click of just looking at a summary when things aren't necessarily true. But I love Google even more though when it gets it right and I can just look at the summary and then I scan for relevant articles that support that in some sort of way. So yeah, it's super fun. But yeah, in the first to market thing, I think about Google, they're Gemini's not talking about running ads anytime soon.
Not yet.
I think they said they're actually going to pull back on it.
Yeah.
Like let other people figure it out, watch them, and then go do it better quietly behind the scenes.
That's a good point. All right. As we come towards the end, I'm curious what you guys are excited about for this year. Things are changing. It sounds like you've kind of developed your strategy. How are you thinking about the changing landscape? Any more plans to push more into the AI side? What are you guys excited about?
I'm excited to see what's going to happen, not just from, we've been talking about words this whole time, but what's going to happen with video, with live streaming, what's going to happen between, with YouTube versus TikTok. And that's a whole different conversation with the new acquisition in the US for that. So really excited to see how all of these things come together. And also, just a nod to your wife, what's happening in the health space right now too, and how people are looking at that. And that's relevant to our business as well, going back to the beginning, we're preventative medicine, getting more fruit and vegetables in your daily diet. So looking forward to seeing how people are getting information of, how they stay healthy, because, millennials are aging up and they're trying to find ways to increase their health and longevity.
That's awesome. Elizabeth, I've just noticed how amazing the sunrise has been in your background, because we started our podcast with you got an amazing view as it is, but it was really early this morning. I think 6:30 you started, and it's gradually got brighter. It's beautiful to see.
Isn't it amazing? I would normally have the door open and you would hear the birds chirping.
Elizabeth, thank you so much for being such an awesome guest. If people want to track you down or they want to find out more about That's It's products, they want to find out about the new products, can they email you directly, and you can email them ahead of time and give them a sneak peek into what's coming maybe? Where can they find you?
Email me at press@that'sitfruit.com. You
Straight
can
through to
go
you,
to our website, that'sitfruit.com. Follow us on Instagram at That's It.
Well, Elizabeth, thank you so much. And to our audience, guys, that's it.
That's it.